Okay, directly we'll be going to the Word of God. People likes very much when I speak. I don't know whether they like the message or not, but I'm sure that they like because I speak very short. Not more than 30 minutes. That's why they like, even my students, they like me when I stand. Sir will only take 15 or 20 minutes, so it's a good. Okay, but I don't know today how far we'll be going to speaking the Word of God. I just want to encourage some of like youths. In a present, it is very challenging to stand as a exemplary youth. To live as a Christian youth, it is not an easy, it's a challenge. And to be a Christian in this present time is a big challenge. Because comparing before, like example, committing sin become very easy. Everywhere you go, you can just simply commit a sin. Example, these days, if you watch a movie with your family, it is like a horror. If you watch a love story, Hindi cinema or English movies, you will feel like you are watching a horror movie. At any climax, might change, many things might happen. But in olden days, if you watch the Bollywood movie, example, like a 90s movie, 19 movies, then the movie, the story, the clothing, everything will be very simple. Boy will be standing and singing songs and girl will be standing there. Hardly they will just touch each other. But these days it's not like that. If boy is not ready, then girl will be just jumping over him. He will be just calling him. She will be just calling him, just come here and stay with me. I will just do this and that. But generation, this present generation, the living style, totality of this world has changed. So it is a very hard to stand firm in God. So it's not an easy thing. You see, in the Bible there is a Matthew chapter 4. Matthew chapter 4 verses 3, what is that? The very common verse to every one of us. The tempter came to him and said, if you are the Son of God, tell these stones to become a bread. The temptation, first ever temptation in the New Testament that we can see is Jesus Christ himself. He was facing a temptation. The first ever temptation in the New Testament. Okay, here some of the translation, oldest translation will say that, not if, but since you are the Son of God, tell these stones to become a bread. This was a temptation. After the temptation of Jesus Christ, this same temptation throughout the Bible, you will not find it. Okay? Throughout the Bible, we cannot find the same temptation. We will not find it. But what I want to tell you something about Jesus is, Satan is challenging the power of Jesus Christ here. If you are using here as sins, then Satan is challenging the power of Jesus Christ. Since you are the Son of God, just let turn this stone to bread. Or whether someone will be saying that no. Satan wanted to know whether he is the Son of God. Because the verse says that if. But the translation is not if, but it is a since. I'm sure that Satan was aware of Jesus. He is the Son of God. So directly, he just want to challenge the power of Jesus Christ. So while I was thinking through this verse, I got one message is that this message is not happening again anywhere in the Bible. That means temptation comes in our own capacity. Temptation comes with your own capacity. This same temptation is not happening to you because that is not your capacity. You know, if someone will tell you, just please turn this stone into bread, you will simply say, no, how can it? It is impossible, I will not do that. No, you will surely say, it's a very easy for you to overcome that temptation because it is not, we are not a supernatural being. So it is a very easy thing. But there are temptation. Easy temptation that according to your capacity, that comes. But many people are failing. Coming to the church, praising God, listening the word of God all the time. After a few months, he will be somewhere else. Actually, temptation is in our own capacity. But what we are doing is, we are not overcoming it. We are simply yielding into it. So this is what, you cannot blame anyone else for your sin. failing from your faith, failing from your belief, you cannot blame anybody. You cannot blame God, you cannot blame your friends, you cannot blame your parents. Because the temptation was actually in your own capacity to overcome it, but you're not doing that. In the childhood, I love to go to field, but when we become older, then we don't want to go to field and work. But in the childhood, we often go to field, pursuing my mom or dad. Right after the school also, even we were running towards the field, kheti. Then after whole day, we will be playing there, not working, playing there in the jungle, doing this and that. While at the evening, my mom will be sending me ahead, just go, because evening time, so you don't need to stay here longer, you just go back to home. While I'm returning from that kheti, I feel so hungry. I want to eat something. But there is nothing to eat. So many stones are there. Something is there. There is stones are there. Some bricks are there, or some other woods are there. But in my mind, I've never thought to turn those stones into bread. In my mind, that I never thought to turn all those woods into something like a bread or some rice. Even if I feel hungry also, I don't do that. Because I know that it is very impossible for me. But for surely, one thing comes in my mind. That is, all the fields are around me. All the fruits are around me. दूसरा का खेती का सामान बहुत है वहाँ पे. So that thought comes in my mind that, okay, let me just go and pluck that fruit. Let me just go and pluck that fruit and have it and satisfy my hunger. This is what the temptation is. The temptation is not coming. I didn't decide to turn the stone into bread. Rather, what I was doing is, let me just go and pluck that fruit from others' garden or others' field. That is what. So, the temptation is in our own capacity. So, whenever something happens in your life, don't forget that the temptation is in own capacity. You can easily resist it. Even in the Bible, let's go to the Bible verse. I have written somewhere here. 1 Corinthians chapter 10 verses 13, right? What it says, what Bible says, what Apostle Paul says, every temptation that we face is in our own capacity, not beyond our capacity. What is common to men, then only God has given that same things to us. And it is not an extraordinary thing. ये हम नहीं सकेगा. ज़्यादा हो गया, that's why I fall. No. I was yielding because it's very hard to bear. No, it's really excuses. Nonsense excuses, that is. Sometimes that Satan might be using tool. Your girlfriend might be like a, what is that? Girlfriend can be a tool to make you fall into temptation. Sometimes boys can be. Satan can be using your boyfriend as a tool to make you fall. So it is a very hard thing, right? To just forsake your girlfriend. Please, if you are doing this, then let's break up. It's a very hard thing to say. And to the boy, it's a very hard thing to say. Sometimes in your family, your brothers can be a tool of a Satan, where he will be like asking you to fall, to forsake God, to busy yourself with the worldly pleasures by forsaking God's commandment. So it is a very hard to just fight with your brothers, to argue with your brothers. It's a very hard thing. But remember one thing, the Bible tells us every temptation is in your own capacity. He don't give you what is very hard. He don't give you or like allow any Satan or any temptation which is out of your capacity, which is unbearable. He never do that. But Bible tells us that in the same verse that temptation will surely come, but God also will show you the way to get rid of it. This is what. And Bible show the way only to the people who are ready to follow, who are submitting to God. For them, God will be showing a way to get rid of the temptation. This is what the plan of God is. In James chapter 4 verse 7, one of the very common verse for many of us, it's for many denominations, it's one of the famous and a very easiest verse that we see. James chapter 4 verse 7, but it says, therefore, First things what you have to do, don't cast it, don't resist it. No. The first of all what you are going to do is, you are going to submit yourself to God. This is what the commandment is. Bible tells us. If you are facing some kind of problem, evil forces in your life, temptations, hard to bear. If you are facing some kind of evil forces, first of all, the Bible is commanding us. Bible commands us that we have to submit ourselves first. Means totally you have to surrender yourself to someone else. That is God. You have to surrender to God. Then only what happens? You resist the devil. Then he will flee away from you. That is the same verse from the Corinthians where it says, God also will show you the way to get rid of the temptation. That's what it says. So, in our life, temptation, we should have God in our life, then only we can resist it. The area, your weakness might be like girls, boys, or visiting to DJ, or some pub, or sometimes your word. You cannot control your word. All the time you are speaking nonsense, vulgar words. Your mind, your desire, lustful desire, also are evils too. So you have to understand what are the weaknesses that I have. Okay, very famous story. There was one Christian youth, very famous story. I hope, and I know that you already heard that story many times, but let me repeat it. There was one young guy who was returning from the youth Bible camp. I don't know whether it's a real incident or story, but so many times I heard that story. He was returning from the youth Bible camp. While he was on the way to his home, he was sharing a seat to one girl who was not that beautiful. Who was not that beautiful. Itana sundar nahi tha, little bit like a normal. So he was sharing a seat with her. While on the turning, road was a little bit like a zigzag type, jerking. Boy suddenly used to just fall to that girl when that driver cuts the turning, okay? So whenever he is falling to that girl, he will say, Lord, Lord, please help me, help me. I don't want to fall to this temptation. Lord, please help me. So what happened? Again, he controlled, oh, thank God, God help me. Falling from that girl. I was almost there, but God helped me. Thank you so much. Again on the way, the same thing, same incident happened. He's falling to that girl and says that, God, please help me again. Why are you doing this again and again? Help me, help me, help me. So what happened is, he escaped. He controlled himself. Again, he will thank God. God, please thank you so much. Lord, thank you that you saved me from this temptation. On the way, that girl get down in for her destination, her house maybe, next station. In that same place, again, another girl came. Very beautiful, white. Very beautiful and very white girl came. And sharing the same seat because nowhere to sit. The girl also, what she was thinking, oh, let me just sit beside this brother, this boy. And she's very beautiful. While they were traveling, the same incident happened there. Boy was leaning on that girl. And what boy says, Lord, if it is thy will, let me fall. Boy says, Lord, if it is thy will, let me just fall. Khotam. No Bible program, that Bible training finished there in the bus. Before what he was saying, Lord, please help me, help me. Now what he's saying, when he looked, the girl is very beautiful. Lord, if it is thy will, let me just fall it. Let me just fall. This happens. We are just deciding the temptation, where to fall, where not to. You see that the things, it is very easy not to fall to some which is not very good for you, right? It is, surely you will not fall there. But overcoming temptation is the person forsakes, which is really hard. This is what the overcoming temptation is. This is what overcoming temptation is. If you don't know how to play WhatsApp and you are against, don't play WhatsApp, it's a sin. So sorry, you don't know how to play WhatsApp and simply speaking against WhatsApp. You don't know how to play Facebook, you only play WhatsApp. And now you're against Facebook. Don't play Facebook, it is a sin. So sorry, you don't know how to play. That's why you are against of Facebook. God, Satan works where you are very keen of it. Satan works there. Satan comes through that things that you know very well. Oh, Satan will be playing with you. Like if you are good if you really like something like a social media site, if you are good enough to do this and that, Satan will be working there. And it is very hard to get rid of that social media because you are addicted already. And overcoming Satan, overcoming the bad situation is the person who get rid of something that has addicted, something that has really taking away from God. This is what. So what we are going to do is, in a temptation, whatever happens in our life, it is easiest thing to say no. That boy who was traveling in the bus, he could have speak the same word. Lord, please help me. Even she is beautiful also. Lord, please help me. Even if it is very hard to forsake, he should have speak the same word. Lord, please help me. Help me. He should have speak the same word. He didn't do that. This is what happening in the present generation to every one of us. Indirectly or indirectly. Okay? So this is what. So temptation comes. There is also a reason why temptation comes. Temptation is actually, it is not a bad things for the people who really live according to the Bible. Temptation is a good things that trains you up. Okay? Bible says in James chapter 1 verses 3, temptation help us to preserve the perseverance. Okay? That's what the Bible tells us. In James chapter 1 verses 12 or so, what it says, if you pass the temptation, you will have a blessing. You will be exalted. That's what the Bible tells us. The people who really live according to the Bible, for them temptation is a blessing. And what happened? In the Deuteronomy chapter 13, there's one story where it says that temptation, I just taste you to find out whether you love me. God says, temptation is, if you really pass it, then you prove that you love God. You are a child of God. This is what. So in a present situation, what we are going to do is we have to just forsake all the temptation. Do not yield into it. The temptation will be surely coming to each and every one of us. In the area of drinking, in the area of like watching this and that, in the area of like enjoyment, pleasures. So we have to get rid of all these things. Then only you will be passed. James chapter 1 verse 2, what it says, you will be blessed, you will be exalted if you pass all the tests. To be served, before I says, to be God's people, to be a perfect exemplary youth, it's not an easy, it's a challenge. So many things will be coming to our life. So we have to get rid of it. We should say no. We should say, God help me. We should not decide it, whether to fall, whether not to. No, this is not what the temptation you pass. It is not. You have to pass the things that is unbearable. This is what the life that we Christians have to live. We have to live the exemplary life. That is what you are passing all the tests. Is what I call exemplary life. God bless us.